A vested interest in creating panic, because then money will flow to climate science.
The IPCC is a political organisation set up by the United Nations to provide evidence to support the Framework Convention on Climate Change, which has been signed by governments. It is entirely political.
The IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It is governments who nominate people.
Somehow the IPCC has become a global warming Bible, if you will. You can't disagree with this global warming statement. And if you do, you're some sort of skeptic. They question your motives, they attack you personally, and so forth.
I find it extraordinary that anybody can regard global warming as climate change as a debate. Clearly, it isn't a debate.
There's no credible debate about whether it's warming and about whether it's because of human activity. That's very clear.
When people say we don't believe in global warming, I say, no, I believe in global warming. I don't believe that human CO2 is causing that warming.
You have the entire climate science community pretty much on one side, and on the other side you have what must now be half a dozen mavericks who are pretending it's not happening.
Yet some have been threatened. One email said, "You will not live long enough to see global warming."
And even more direct than that.
We stick our necks out. We do get hurt.
See, I don't even like to call it the environmental movement anymore, because really it is a political activist movement, and they have become hugely influential at a global level.
Moore says this isn't the first time we've seen the interests of big business come into conflict with such a widespread scientific consensus.
The illusion of a debate has been purchased with millions of dollars a year spent by a few of the largest and least responsible polluters who want to fool and confuse the American people.
Hansen is arguably the world's leading researcher on global warming. He's the head of NASA's top institute studying the climate. But this eminent scientist says that the Bush administration is restricting who he can talk to and editing what he can say. Politicians, he says, are rewriting the science.
You believe that the administration is censoring what you can say to the public?
Well, they're censoring whether or not I can say it. I mean, I say what I believe, if I'm allowed to say it.
What James Hansen believes is that global warming is accelerating. He points to the melting Arctic and to Antarctica, where new data show massive losses of ice to the sea.
Is it fair to say at this point that humans control the climate? Is that possible?
There's no doubt about that. The natural changes, the speed of the natural changes is now dwarfed by the changes that humans are making to the atmosphere and to the surface.
There is a new review process. The White House is now reviewing all climate-related press releases. Why the scrutiny of Hansen's work? It's a tone of scientific uncertainty that the president set in his first months in office after he pulled out of a global treaty to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
We do not know how much our climate could or will change in the future. We do not know how fast change will occur, or even how some of our actions could impact it.
That ambiguity annoyed Hansen, so he went public a year and a half ago saying this about the Bush administration in a talk at the University of Iowa.
I find a willingness to listen only to those portions of scientific results that fit predetermined, inflexible positions. This, I believe, is a recipe for environmental disasters.
Ever since he said that, NASA's been keeping an eye on Hansen. NASA let us sit down with him, but only with a NASA representative taping the interview. Other interviews have been denied.
And I object to the fact that I'm not able to freely communicate via the media. National Public Radio wanted to interview me, and they were told that they would need to instead interview someone at NASA headquarters, and the comment was made that they didn't want Jim Hansen going on the most liberal media in the nation. So I don't think that kind of decision should be made on that kind of basis. I think that we should be able to communicate the science.
The strategy of people with a political agenda to avoid this issue is to say, there's so much to study way upstream here that we can't even begin to discuss impacts and response strategies. There's much too much uncertainty. And it's not climate scientists who are saying that. It's lawyers. It's politicians.
Here, a line that said Earth is undergoing rapid change becomes maybe undergoing change. Uncertainty becomes significant remaining uncertainty. This line that says energy production contributes to warming is just crossed out. Here, Piltz says that Cooney added this line: the uncertainties remain so great as to preclude meaningfully informed decision-making. References to human health are marked out. We obtained the drafts from the Government Accountability Project. The edits you're seeing made it into the final report. Here's that phrase, Earth may be undergoing change, in the report to Congress. Piltz says there wasn't room at the White House for those who disagreed, so he resigned. We saw for ourselves the accelerating melt of the largest ice sheet in the north.
Here in Greenland, about 15 years ago, the ice sheet extended to right about where I'm standing now. Today, it's back there, between those hills in that shaded area. Glaciologists call this a melt stream, but these days it's more like a melt river.
The Bush administration doesn't deny global warming or that man plays a role. The administration is spending billions of dollars on climate research. Hansen gives the White House credit for the research, but he says what's urgent now is action.
If that doesn't start within 10 years, then I don't think we can keep global warming, additional global warming, under 1 degree Celsius. And that means that there's a great danger of passing some of these tipping points.